Taliban and the Afghan government in Doha continue to discuss peace talks. Reports suggest the two sides are still struggling to agree a framework for formal talks. A Taliban spokesman told the BBC that they plan to continue fighting while negotiations take place. The government of Thailand has warned visitors to a popular park near Bangkok that any litter they leave behind may be sent back to their homes. Visitors to the park have to register their addresses, making it easy for officials to track them down if they leave rubbish behind. The American author Winston Groom, whose novel Forrest Gump was turned into a blockbuster film starring Tom Hanks, has died. He was 77. Gent Slimani reports.
Forrest Gump, the story of a slow-witted but kind-hearted man from Alabama, became a cultural sensation as a film in the mid-1990s, winning 6 Oscars. Whilst remembered for creating Forrest Gump, Winston Groom was also regarded as a prominent author of American history. He wrote 16 books, fiction and non-fiction, including Conversations with the Enemy, about an American prisoner of war in Vietnam accused of collaboration, which was a Pulitzer Prize finalist. The governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, said she was saddened.
And that's the latest BBC News.
明天的希望无限，听见台北的人情味，全世界活力在线，全都在台北 Radio。
公民总主笔，
方恩格时间。
当家抢先报，你不能不知道。
在今天晚上公民总主笔方恩格的时间当中，我们邀请到的来宾，他们是台北自行车厂的老板。我们将聊一聊这2位德州人为何移居台湾，而且开了一家单车店。台北市有哪些地方适合骑自行车，以及购买、维修自行车所需要知道的相关知识。不管你是经验丰富的单车手，或是初学者，请锁定本集的节目，了解在台湾骑单车的更多资讯。
谁当家？
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 你当家？
谁当家？谁当家？
谁当家？
当家？我当家？你当家？我当家？
我当家？
到底谁当家？你来当家。
Welcome to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station with your host, Ross Darrell-Feingold. Today, our guests from Taipei Bike Works are Alec Gates and Alex Bryant. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks. Before we talk about Taipei Bike Works, let's talk a little bit about your backgrounds. You're both from Texas.
Yeah, that's right. I grew up in Houston in a small suburb, really close to my family. Kind of moved around for school in Austin, Texas, and Denton, and just kind of met up with Alex over here through a mutual friend that I met in high school.
Alex, which part of Texas are you from?
I'm from the other side of Texas, so...
Well, you know, Texas is really,
huge.
Really big. So
Absolutely.
when you say the other side, you're like talking about like the other side of the world, right?
Yeah, so Texas is, I think, 17 times the size of Taiwan, so pretty huge. I'm from North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area. I think a little bit smaller town than where you're from, right? I think growing up, population about 7,000 people in my town, so very different from the environment of Taipei.
Were you guys into cycling when you were children?
Yeah, I was very much into BMX. I did that for the majority of my childhood.
Some people used to, when I was a child, people call those dirt bikes.
Well, I did more of the freestyle aspect, going to skate parks and hitting up the dirt jumps at the local trails in Houston. And then when I went to college, I actually really got into cycling when I started my very first job at a used bicycle shop. And I was there for about 3 to 4 years, got into racing with mountain biking, and I just fell in love with the sport.
How about you, Alex? Were you into cycling growing up?
Absolutely. I think cycling was probably my first sense of freedom as a child, right? So the small town that I grew up in, you know, it means there's a lot of room. And so just hop on the bike, you know, as a teenager, young kid, just go wherever. There's a big road. My parents say, just don't go past the big road, right? So have all this land just at like my free will. So just get on the bike, a couple other kids riding bicycles around, just get into all kinds of trouble. And then
wait, what kind of trouble were you getting into on those bicycles?
things are pretty loose, especially back then in a small town. You kind of do whatever you want. With some fireworks,
cow tipping, anything like that.
Yeah, possible. But then it kind of expanded from there. I loved riding the bicycle around, and as a kid, you want to ride fast, and so then I got into BMX racing a little bit. So a little bit similar to Alec. He's doing more of the freestyle stuff. This is what you're thinking of as like comparing it to like off-road, like kind of like motocross style with jumps and everything. So that type of racing, I did that for a little while just as a teenager, and then just kind of kept riding from there. That eventually translated into a love for like motorcycles as well. Yeah, two wheels, one way or another.
And now, of course, the stereotype of Texas in sports is there's usually one sport that people think of first, and that's American football.
Absolutely.
But you guys said as teenagers you were cycling. You weren't playing football. Did people say like, "Hey, what's wrong with you? How come you're not playing football? Why do you like bicycles so much?"
Man, let's see. I think there's in school you have like a couple like choices what to do for like athletics, right? And like bicycles, that's not one of them. So it's like, what do you do then if you don't want to do football or some of the other ones? You got to do something. So a lot of people just do like general physical activity like PE, right? Maybe, I don't know, did you do that?
I completely got out of the entire thing altogether. I actually joined the ROTC because I didn't want to do PE. I thought it was a bit of a waste. I was never really good at any sports, really never made it to first base any of the seasons that my parents put me into. They put me into soccer, baseball, football. Nothing really stuck until I did.
So you found the cycling.
Yeah, it was something that was like a nice creative outlet. It was something I can kind of work towards. I can kind of do it alone, and I could find other people to do it as well, and it just kind of worked all over.
Another important aspect of running a cycle shop and helping customers with their needs is repair. Now, when you guys were younger, were you good at fixing things, and that helped you later on? Now that you're helping people fix their bicycles, did you tinker? Did you repair things growing up?
I more destroyed things than fixed them. I had a natural curiosity to just kind of figure out how things worked.
So you just took them apart or blew them up?
Yeah, my dad wasn't too happy when he finds all his power tools in a million pieces in the garage. But I was always trying to build something before I bought something, just to try and save money. For example, there's like a camera gimbal that makes it really nice and steady, and this is before they had all the electronic gizmos. And I looked online, you get some bearings and some Heim joints and some wood, and you just kind of make it. And mine never really quite looked like the picture, but it was really informative, and I really was spurred on by that.
Yeah. So same thing for myself. When I was a kid, it was like something broke at my family's farm, right? So my family has a farm. I didn't ever live on the farm, but if something broke at the family farm, I go down to visit the farm, like, oh yeah, we have this broken thing, give it to Alex. Like, am I going to fix it, or I'm just going to take it apart? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Take it apart, look at it, just play around with it. It's interesting. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
So if anything breaks around my house, I could call you. You'll come over.
Yeah. We both I think have a very like do-it-yourself like kind of mentality towards things. Yeah, I think it's good. Good way to learn.
But Alex, you also had some time in law enforcement as well.
Well, yeah. Originally, I was looking at getting into law enforcement in university. That's what I was going to school for, and I think I had a very good reason for doing this. I'm an active person. I want to kind of keep moving and stuff like that. But then actually kind of transitioned to a different career. Ended up working for Lexus, Toyota, Lexus, automobile manufacturer. So same thing, using my hands, taking things apart, putting things back together.
Okay, so before we talk too much more about bicycles, what's the secret to keeping a car in good repair? Give us the inside.
Man, I think
because there are a lot of Lexus owners in Taiwan. They probably want to know.
I think if you're a Lexus owner, then maybe you don't have to worry too much.
That's
maybe
diplomatic.
The secret. See, that's the secret. Choose a good car from the beginning, right? And then you don't have to worry about keeping it in tip-top shape because it'll kind of do the work for you. But yeah, just do your general maintenance. Pick a good car to start with.
And Alec, you also spent some time in Texas making films and as a cinematographer. What was that like in Texas?
It was interesting. It was an interesting line of work. I was kind of my own boss a lot of the times. I wore a lot of hats. I was my own accountant. I was my own marketing manager. I worked on a lot of really cool projects, some stuff for Discovery Channel like Gas Monkey Garage. I shot a lot of weddings for different people and different companies. Every weekend I was probably driving maybe about 300, 400 miles just to go to each venue.
That's a normal drive in Texas.
That's a normal drive. Yeah, that's a normal drive in Texas. I did what I like to call the Texas Triangle, where you go from Austin to Dallas and then Houston and then back to Austin. And I would do that in a weekend, but it would pay rent for the rest of the month. Unfortunately, I didn't drive a Lexus, so I drove my car into the ground. But I was able to hone those skills into kind of graphic design now with the company that I have here. So it's helped me out quite a bit.
True,
yeah.
You guys came to Taiwan in 2015 and cycled around Taiwan. Why did you come to Taiwan and why did you cycle around the island?
Yeah, so a minor correction on that. We came here in 2015 and we actually rode motorcycles around, right? So I think I invited Alec.
Yep.
And I was like, I had been to Taiwan before. And
I'd never been out of the country before.
It was your first time. So
I was like, let's do this.
So because we knew each other a little bit before being in Taiwan and everything, we kind of knew our interests. We knew we both liked bicycles. And again, that kind of transitioned to motorcycles for both of us as well. So it was like, hey, I knew I liked Taiwan and I had told Alec about it. And he's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. It's like, yeah, we should go and ride, like get a motorcycle. Let's do like Huangdao. Let's go around Taiwan and like see what there is out there. Taiwan's perfect for that. Whether you're on a motorcycle or a bicycle or on foot, right? Like a lot of Taiwanese, like that's something they must accomplish in their life is go around the island, like the complete journey, right?
What do you remember most about that trip, Alec?
Oh man, I think there was one night we were all drinking, of course, and at one point we had lost
water. You were drinking water.
We were drinking water. Yeah, we were drinking water. Lots of water. And we had all lost each other at some point during the night. Some people went home with some other friends, and in the morning there was all three of us scattered. We ended up finding each other one at a time, but we only had one motorcycle and no helmet. So at some point in the morning, you saw three foreigners crammed onto one of those small grandma bikes and no helmet, just kind of going through the middle of Zhongli. Yeah. So that was a very memorable time.
Yeah, got a lot of interesting looks.
Oh yeah,
three guys, one bike.
Yeah. Now, did you guys think about moving to other countries in Asia, or Taiwan was really the one place you wanted to move to and start a business?
Alex?
Yeah, let's see. So for myself, definitely, I knew I liked Taiwan. And I had spent some time here just traveling and visiting and stuff like that. And then Alec kind of settled down here. So that gave me more reason to visit more often. And then we kind of went into the business together. And that's when it became more permanent. But between that time period, it was like, yeah, other places in Asia were definitely interesting to me. And so traveled to many of those other places, grab a motorcycle, grab a bicycle, just tour around a bit, see what everything's like. But I definitely had to settle down in Taiwan. It fit me the best, like for sure. I wouldn't. Yeah, there's nice places, plenty of nice places in Asia, and really good places for vacation, holidays, stuff like that. But to live, Taiwan was the obvious choice for me. Yeah.
So you guys came, you decided to settle in Taiwan, and you opened the business. Bicycling is fairly popular here.
Yeah.
Was it something that there was still a need, though? What were you trying to fill when you guys decided to open a business?
It's funny because originally I moved to Taiwan for kind of like having self-freedom. I didn't have any debt. I didn't want to have any cell phone bills or anything like that. And I found this need that a whole bunch of people were asking me about, kind of showing them around Taipei. And that started to become kind of a bit of a side gig. And it's just kind of grown into what it is now.
Yeah.
It got to the point where I was like, hey, Alex, come on over here. Help me. This thing's getting out of control, but in a good way.
So originally you were using the U-bikes and giving like tours around Taipei with your friends.
Meeting up at MRT stations.
Yeah. And then you wanted to create it into something more like permanent and proper and everything. That's when we went through the process of actually registering a proper business and going through the nuances of that.
Getting our own bicycles.
Yeah. So the big transition, so that would be one big transition, making the like business a legitimate business and everything. And then the next transition would probably be at the beginning of this year when the virus hit, it really forced us to not just rely on our foreign visitors for income. So we need to look towards, Taiwan's market and stuff like that. And so went and got a little bit of a larger place that allowed us to have more resources for the market here to everybody in Taipei and stuff like that.
Would it be fair to say that here in Taipei there's a lack of options for good cycling repair shops or sales? There was a demand for better quality services or more knowledgeable operators of the shops?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of bicycle shops around. There's plenty of people cycling, but you can always push like the boundaries of customer service and stuff like that, right? And I think there's maybe a bit of a lack of that. And if you find a good bike shop, then that's awesome. Stick with that good bike shop. But if we can push people to be even better, that's great. Also, there's a little bit of like a stigma maybe, and like kind of a way that people repair bikes in themselves, or if it's a shop, there's a lot of people, instead of repairing, they're just replacing, right? So I think that's something that we try to do different whenever we can. Instead of replace a part that has a problem, try to repair that part first. So it's low risk. The part already is kind of broken. So the last case scenario, you're just going to buy a new one. But yeah, if we can try to spend a little bit more time, save the customer some money, but repair the actual problem and not just the quick solution of replacing the part. I don't think too many shops do that. So we try to do that a little bit different. And I think that comes from kind of our background of like, back in the States, if we have a problem with something, getting labor, like having something repaired somewhere is very expensive in America, and Taiwan is relatively cheap, but it forced us to do a lot of our own repairs. And then now that translates into what we do here. Try to do our own repair first before just throwing a part on something. Yeah.
What were some of the challenges that you encountered when you got the storefront and you really try to build it as a proper business?
I think the major hurdle we ran into was just registering the business. It's just there's just so much to it. We had to
believe me, big multinational companies have the same complaints about bureaucracy.
Yeah, but I mean, coming from the U.S., where you literally just go online for 30 minutes, you get a VAT number, pay a fee, and you're a registered business. And over here, I think it took us about 7 months to sort it all out, all said and done. And that's probably our biggest challenge that we faced. And then the next one was when the virus hit. We had to really rethink and restructure the business quite a bit. We were kind of forced into that. We were going to try it out experimentally, like on our own time later on, like maybe starting this year. But we had to really, dive into this head first without too much knowledge. And I think that was the other challenge that we ran into.
Kind of just sink or swim. Either we got to do
go big or literally go back home.
We had to kind of jump right into all that because of the virus. But in relation to that question, kind of some of the challenges, now that we have a proper bicycle shop and everything, one of the challenges that we face just day to day, the disorganization between suppliers. It's really different. The supply chain is so weird in Taiwan for bicycle components and stuff. Very different from what you experience in America, working at a bicycle shop in America. I think you have like one supplier, and that's kind of who you rely on. You place all your orders to that one supplier. They have basically everything. Probably have a website portal. You log in, and it's all kind of taken care of like that. Taiwan's maybe a bit behind in this regard, and maybe it's just due to the industry. So many cycling companies are here in Taiwan. But instead of just having one supplier, you probably end up with like 20, and then maybe ordering through an online portal, maybe ordering through Line, maybe ordering by call.
Do you have a line message to your supplier?
Do you have this in stock? Let me check. You wait a couple more hours. I'll get back to you. You
or maybe it's an email. You never know.
So an email, that's
a lot of stuff to keep in your head. Like if you need this part, which supplier has that? Like how am I going to order?
What price did they tell me before? So I don't have to wait another couple hours. It's just
so that can be a little bit hard to keep organized. Maybe it's why a lot of shops you see they have a lot of things on hand, because obviously it makes it easier to have these things on hand. But if you don't have them on hand, you may struggle to get them because just the disorganization between suppliers. Yeah, that's one thing that's always kind of an ongoing challenge. But probably related to the cycling industry being here in Taiwan. Most of the world's bicycles and a lot of the big cycling component manufacturers are here, but it's specifically in Taichung. That's where you have like a massive industry. So maybe because these manufacturers are actually here. This makes the supply line a little bit different. Whereas like if you're in like America, for instance, all these things are being imported, and so you're getting it through your supplier that's the importer. Yeah, so it's just a little bit of a different setup.
But the upside to that is instead of relying on one person for your B2B quote or your wholesale price, which is fixed, and you can't really change that much in the U.S. because you have that one supplier. Over here, you have 20 different suppliers that each carry maybe 2 or 3 different companies and manufacturers. So you can individually maybe talk your way down a little bit of a price, or you get a sale on this person, and so it can kind of fluctuate a little bit, and that can kind of help us out in the long run. But
what are some of the most common repair requests you get at Taipei Bike Works?
Air in the tires.
But don't people do that on their own? They need to come to the bike shop?
You would be surprised how many people don't have an air pump.
Yeah. It's fine. We'll throw air in the tire. No problem. Come by. Yeah. Whatever. And maybe we see something else like, hey, watch out for this. Putting air in tires is a good way just to get a quick visual on a bicycle.
And trying to sort out their gears and brakes. Something just goes awry and you can't get the shifting just right.
Yeah,
it's just a quick turn of a screw and
so many people in Taiwan ride road bikes, like proper road bikes with drop handlebars and everything. And these new road bikes probably have like 11 gears in the back, maybe 10, 11, 9, something like that. So it's easy for these things to go out of adjustment. And if it's not quite right, when you're riding, you're hearing noises and stuff like that. And some people, they can fix that themselves. It's not too hard, but it's good to have someone kind of looking over and make sure, is it really just the small adjustment, or is there something greater going on? So a lot of people just come in, need a quick adjustment, get them out the door and like keep riding. But identifying a problem before it becomes like a big financial burden is good. Yeah, try to fix it right away.
Now, you guys mentioned the effect that the virus has had. A lot of people assume that bike sales would go up during this period because people don't want to take the bus or the MRT. They want to cycle to work, or people are working from home, which means maybe they have a little bit more time to do some leisure activity or some sports activity in the evenings since they don't have to commute to work. How did it affect your business? I mean, did more people come in and want to buy bikes or need their bikes repaired because they were riding them more often?
So we've kind of seen a little bit of everything. Well, first off, our tours dropped off completely. At that point, we were just like, oh no, what do we do? So we started thinking locally, and we did the whole bike shop thing. From what I've seen, if you already had established your bicycle shop, you were making tons of money. It's still booming right now, as we say.
And especially,
as we talk.
Especially in Western countries.
Yeah, right? Giant is struggling to keep up with demand. Same thing with Trek. With the limited air. What is it? Limited flights that can kind of go back and forth.
Of everything.
It's really difficult, and I'm starting to see some of that kind of affect Taiwan a little bit too, and getting Shimano parts. Shimano is one of the main manufacturers for components for bicycles here in Taiwan. Of course, you have SRAM, Campagnolo, and Microshift and all that stuff, but Shimano is a big one. So if you need a replacement part now, you're looking at about 5 to 6 months of wait time because it's coming from Japan.
For example, what kind of part?
Oh, just anything, really. You need a pulley wheel, you need a new cog, you want a cassette. Right now, they're completely out of group sets. They're starting to get out of those. You can't find these cheap prices aren't going to last much longer, to be honest.
Some of the core things that
a lot of the
to make a bike, a proper bike,
disappearing.
Are hard to get a hold of right now. So this is just because of the increased demand in Western countries,
but
and supply chains.
But on the side of like the popularity of cycling activities, that's always ongoing. We've talked to some people, and they've said that Taiwan themselves are going to start investing in cycle tourism, and a lot of people are describing next year as the year of cycling. So that'll be something to kind of look forward to as well for us.
I think we're hearing, and there's some signs of this. The Tourism Bureau next year will be the Tourism Bureau's like year of cycling. So it's going to be a lot of promotion of cycling internally for locals, and then that's a great like test run for externals, like foreigners coming and visiting and doing some cycling. So Taiwan's infrastructure for that is good and always getting better. So if you think about doing some touring or long distance riding or something like that, it's great. Taiwan's great for that. Absolutely.
So even during this time, though, people were willing to come to the shop. They weren't afraid of getting the virus from the repairman.
Maybe the furthest thing from many people's heads, really.
Yeah. There was a short period where it was like a little bit weird.
Well, people didn't even want to come into the shop.
No, just people were extra cautious, right? You just didn't even see as many people on the streets for a couple weeks, maybe. But Taiwan's done so well with the virus. We don't really have to think about that anymore.
Yeah, thankfully.
Other than our foreign customers, still it's a little weird for
they come in with a mask.
Right
still. Yeah.
Well, it's good that foreigners are picking up the habit.
No, that's good. It's very good. We encourage that.
Yeah.
But no need to wear a mask when people are cycling around, right? As long as they got their helmet on.
If you're out in the breeze, like on a cycling path, I think you're fine. Yeah. Keeping some distance from others. Yeah, shouldn't have to worry.
Okay, well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back from the break, we'll talk a little bit more specifically about some cycling around Taipei and around Taiwan and other aspects of the cycling scene here in Taiwan. You're listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station with our guests Alec and Alex from Taipei Bike Works.
家巷口和你分手，仿佛偶像剧一样，觉得我们就要发生些什么。总在回家时候不知所措，想再打电话给你，可是再见刚刚才说过。有一种想要拥抱你的冲动，想静静看着你的笑容，让你藏在怀中，直到我每天的尽头。因为想一个人而寂寞，因为爱一个人而温柔，因为有一个梦而执着，因为等一个人而折磨，因为想一个人而解脱，因为爱一个人而宽容，因为有一个梦而放纵，因为等一个人而漂泊。想要拥抱你的冲动，想静静看着你的笑容，让你藏在怀中，直到我每天的尽头。因为想一个人而寂寞，因为爱一个人而温柔，因为有一个梦而执着，因为等一个人而折磨，因为想一个人而解脱，因为爱一个人而宽容，因为有一个梦而放纵，因为等一个人而漂泊，因为想一个人而寂寞，因为爱一个人而温柔，像夜的朦胧，你的深情难懂我的世界，因为你而不同，因为想一个人而解脱，因为爱一个人而宽容，像风的自由，你的深情难留，你的背影是我最美丽的所有。
收听台北广播电台 FM 93.1 AM 1134，让你的心情嗨起来。大家好，我是陈零九。
台北市大安区公所在109年3月22号到9月12号办理2020年走读大安文化节系列活动，欢迎您热烈参与。详情请洽大安区公所2351-1711-8901，或到区公所网站走读大安文化节专区查询。以上内容由台北市大安区公所提供。
我从年轻就烟不离手，直到跟太太结婚满10年，我想送她特别一点的礼物。想来想去，觉得身体健康就是最棒的礼物，所以结婚纪念日我决定戒烟。
因为以前小朋友都觉得先生很臭，现在他戒烟5年，烟味不见了，晚上睡觉也不咳嗽了，体力变更好。
免费戒烟专线0800636363，以上广告由卫生福利部国民健康署提供。
台北市政府提醒您，道路上路况多变化，为了你我安全，车辆行经路口时应慢看停，停让行人，行人也应遵守号志规定，并走在行人穿越道，不得任意穿越马路。以上内容由台北市政府交通局提供。
Welcome back to Residence Messenger. Our guests today are Alec and Alex from Taipei Bike Works. You guys also make custom bikes. For people who don't know a lot about bicycling or buying a bicycle, maybe they think they just want to walk into the store and buy something, and that's the easiest thing to do. What's the advantage of either a custom bike or a used bike that's been fixed up?
Yeah, a custom bike. I think it just sets you apart from everybody else that's riding, right? So, and you can choose something that's specifically built around your size and what you want from a bicycle. Whereas if you just buy something off of a showroom, maybe you're just kind of getting that specific class of bike.
Now, you say for the rider's size, which right. parts of their body are you referring to?
Almost everything, actually. Yeah. If you just go and look online at a bicycle that's for sale, you'll normally see it listed as like a small, medium, large, extra large, and that'll correlate to like a height of a person. And manufacturers are doing this to try to make it easier for people. But in the past, it wasn't like that. Before, like maybe 70s, 80s, into the 90s, you see bicycles listed by the length of the tubes on the bike, right? So you say, oh, the seat tube is 56 centimeters and the top tube is 57 centimeters. And you need to measure your body and see what fits, like what frame fits. So you can't just say I'm a medium or I'm a large. And all the manufacturers now, their medium or large correlates to some kind of measurement. So yeah, to make it easy for customers, they just have small, medium, large, and everything like that. But if you want a proper bike fitment, you should actually go through and measure not only your height, but like your inseam, your arm length, shoulder width. It's pretty advanced. So the people that are coming to our shop and getting a bike that's more of a custom bike, or even a bike that we're selling like as an off-the-shelf bike, we're still going to go through and take all of these measurements, their arm length and width of their shoulders and all that. That way they can get a bike. You know, you're spending a decent amount of money sometimes for a bike. You don't want to get something that's the wrong size. So a custom bike means that the size is perfect, right? But even for a new bike, you should be able to get it fit to you properly, and we try to do that with the brands that we're selling. Yeah.
So a custom bike is even for a casual, person who just does a little bit of biking around the neighborhood for exercise or on the weekends. You don't have to be a serious racer to be buying a custom bike.
No, not at all. In fact, in lots of cases, a custom bike can cost less than possibly a new bike. If you're okay with possibly using some used parts here and there, it may or may not have a scratch on it. It works just as fine, especially if you're just using it every day or not every day. You'll stand out, like Alex had said. You won't just have like this everyday bike. And at the end of the day, when you're done riding, you can be kind of happy and proud of the bicycle that's yours. Yeah. And it fits you properly.
You've probably chosen some of the parts and kind of used your own kind of artistic abilities maybe to make it have a theme and stuff like that, right? So you can choose like sidewalls of tires, like the color of that, the components and everything, really.
All the way down to the material that you use, carbon fiber, titanium, aluminum, or steel.
So custom bike, good.
Well, let's talk about some of those materials and how they apply to cycling around Taiwan. Well, you guys have been cycling around Taiwan for over 5 years already. What's changed about the cycling scene in Taiwan during your time here?
They've gotten more internationally known. For one, you have the Taiwan KOM. I participated that last year, and that's a very grueling event. It encourages a lot of outside... what do you call it?
Like a lot of foreign competitors are coming to Taiwan to compete. So if you guys don't know the KOM, I don't know if you've heard of it before, but this is a bicycle race. It's about around 100 kilometers or so. Yeah. And you're starting in Hualien, basically at sea level, and the end of the race is at the highest point of the highest road in Taiwan, up at Hehuanshan. So you're doing a total of about 4,000 meters of cumulative climbing, right? Your elevation is, the height of Hehuanshan, the road there, 3,275 meters. So that's a grueling event, and the KOMs, like King of the Mountain events, are popular all over the world, but Taiwan's has this reputation of being the most difficult out of anywhere. So this brings some of the top cyclists to Taiwan, and I think that's an awesome way for people to experience the mountains and Hualien and stuff like that. Really cool.
And with that, Taiwan's starting to look more locally for their races, especially with like COVID going on in Tour de France. A lot of people are still wanting to, race and get things done, and so they're still trying to continue on with some of the crits that are going on. In fact, they even have their own. They just finished their own cycling path by Taipei 101.
Yeah, so
they have a little 500-meter track and then a 1 kilometer track, and that was UCI regulated and totally official, and it was a great success.
Yeah, just opened a couple weeks ago. Yeah. On the riverside, right near like Songshan. So I think the mayor was there to kind of introduce this new track, and it's kind of a new type of racing where instead of doing a point-to-point race, you're doing laps. So kind of like you would imagine like runners on a track, but it's bicycles instead. So the idea is that spectators can watch, like you're right there. You don't just stand at one turn and see everybody go by. And also, what happens when you're riding like road races, there's packs of people and they split away, and then maybe you're riding by yourself. So people that are maybe not at a high advanced level, they can participate in an event like this, and then they're still riding with everybody. Even if you're in last place, there's still things to see and action to take place. So yeah, this new track just opened. Really cool to see like this constant development of the infrastructure here, and kind of along the same line, we're talking about like new like cycling events and things like that in Taiwan. A little bit of information that I have brought for an event happening next year. It's called Dirty Formosa. So in Taiwan, road bikes really dominate, but in the Western countries, like road bikes, there's plenty, but mountain bikes and gravel bikes, that's becoming a really popular thing outside of Taiwan. And maybe this is because some of these other places, like riding on the road, is not as available, or just the traffic isn't as used to two-wheeled vehicles, so people get off the roads and go on cycling paths, like maybe off-road. You don't see much of it in Taiwan yet, but the gravel bike scene is growing all around the world and in Taiwan as well. And so we're building some of these bikes now. Yeah. It's basically, imagine a regular road bike, so the form is similar, but the main thing is the tires are different. So you have a slightly different frame geometry and more clearance for larger tires. So you still have the drop handlebars, kind of aggressive looking road bike, but with bigger tires. So this means that you can go over terrain that's a little bit rough And like you think in Taiwan, like you don't really need to do that. You can just stay on these nicely groomed roads and bicycle paths and stuff like that. But I think it's a new challenge for people. So this event, let's see, it's going to be March the 21st next year, right? So it's called Dirty Formosa. I think the registration isn't even open yet. The registration will open next week. But this is going to be Taiwan's first gravel bike specific race. So it will be mountain bikes, gravel bikes, and e-bikes. So first kind of like e-bike race for Taiwan as well. So e-bike getting more and more popular. The prices are coming down. The range and speed is going up, and I think it's a great alternative to like standard car or scooter or something like that.
Yeah, so for people who want to participate in the Dirty Formosa gravel events next March, is now the time they should be building their custom gravel bike.
This would be, we just are getting the details of the event now. It's going to be grueling. So it's like the gravel bike version of Taiwan's KOM, like we were just talking about the KOM. So it's going to be similar. With the distance and elevation change, but it's going to be more on rough roads. Yeah, maybe
they say that the elevation change is going to be about 4,000 meters.
Yeah, about 4,000.
And the distance is 103 kilometers long, and it could or could not be in some riverbeds or some broken down roads along the way.
It will be using like a kind of industrial road. Yeah, and this road is, I think, iconic for having like really rough asphalt and mud and dirt and stuff like that. So you're doing this, 103 kilometers for a cyclist that rides often is totally reasonable, but going up 4,000 meters, that's
off-road.
While you're
using a lot of your upper body.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Well.
So it's 12 hours. That's what you need to do it in within 12 hours. And of course, if you do less than that, you're placing better. They have some good prizes now. I think a wheel manufacturer has signed on. So one of the first place winners in the categories will receive a really nice set of built wheels, Taiwanese built wheels. So that'll be awesome. Yeah. So looking forward to that. And we're hoping that we can build some of these bikes up for some of our customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're coming from a road bike, doing gravel, like racing gravel bike or just riding a gravel bike, it's not a big transition because it's relatively similar. Like the shifting is the same, the handlebars are the same, maybe a little bit wider. That's just the tires are different, and maybe the frame's a little bit more beefy so it can handle those big bumps and stuff like that. So I think this could really take off in Taiwan as it is in other countries, just because it's not a big transition for people to make that are already riding road bikes, and they're good for every day because they're comfortable.
Yeah, they're like tires. They're what they call just all around bikes.
You can really do
racks
anything
on them. You can go, you can bomb the hill, you can climb with your buddies and keep up with them, not get dropped. You can go off road, you can go bike camping if you want.
That's another perfect thing for Taiwan, doing bike packing, bike camping. We've done some of that. Taiwan's perfect for it.
Do some wild camping. Pop up in a park.
Some stealth camping. You can get away with that in Taiwan.
Absolutely.
Putting a tent in a public park, normally nobody cares, right?
In addition to the Taiwan KOM and the upcoming Dirty Formosa event, what are some of the other kind of international cycling events that occur in Taiwan that foreigners will come to Taiwan to participate in?
I think it's got the KOM just dominates for international cyclists. If somebody's somebody's a cyclist in a Western country and they're going to go to Taiwan to compete in an event, it's going to be the KOM without a doubt, right? Like I don't think there's any.
There are some smaller races. There's like from Taipei to Kaohsiung. And then there's also a whole bunch of like some people come here to set personal records. One of my friends in the IC racing team, he went all around Taiwan nonstop, and it took him just under 28 hours on a bicycle. So people set some personal records as well, not just from official racing. So like Alex had said that
too, right?
Yeah, lots of triathlon,
Ironman and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk a little bit about the normal folks like me, the people who don't do the KOM and the gravel. What are you mentioned the new bike track in Taipei City, but for the regular person who just wants some exercise, what are some great places inside the city to go to?
Inside the city, I'd say the Riverside Path is a great alternative. Within Taipei, there's actually over 500 kilometers of cycling path. On the Riverside alone, if you go from Danshui all the way down to
Xindian,
down to Xindian and back, that would take you a considerable amount of time. That would be a really good workout.
Make it a round trip. That's pretty good.
Some people like to go all the way around Taipei using the Riverside Path as well. And then if you want to go outside of that and challenge yourself, Yangmingshan's right there. and there are tons of climbing paths. You can join any of the cycling groups, and they'd be happy to show you around. There's weekly meetups. So
even are those accessible even for beginners though?
Absolutely. We have some people. We rent out bikes, some flat bar bikes. They have more of a relaxed geometry than aggressive road bikes, and we've had people go to Hoanshan on those things. We've had people go all the way to the top of Yangmingshan. We had one person do all of Buddhist Han, which is pretty much Yangmingshan, and you go up each individual side about 5 times. So it's pretty much like doing the KOM, but all day. Yeah. So absolutely, anybody is capable of doing that as long as you have a bicycle.
Yeah. And are these places around Taipei that you were discussing, especially on the weekends, are they very crowded with a lot of cyclists?
Yeah. So if you hop on the riverside, because that's the easiest thing to do, right? And sometimes it can save you some time if you're just commuting. It's like get on the riverside and
it's like the highway.
Like that's what you do, right? So it's like a bicycle highway. So Alec is up in Danshui, and the shop is much further south, where like Datong, Zhongshan area, and so hopping on the riverside and then just blasting south can really save you some time. But Alec is quick, and I know you have some issues with other cyclists, pedestrians, and stuff like that. and so you got to be a little bit careful. I think our tips, if you're wanting to cycle and get away from people, but you're still in Taipei, because population density is insane, right? So go out or go up, right? So get on the riverside and go out to the edges, like head down towards Xindian, head up towards Danshui or Nangan or Dashi or something like that. Get to the extremities. Things are going to die out as you get that direction, and with people like pedestrians and other cyclists, and also just with cars and stuff if you're on a regular road, or go up, right? Just start going up the mountains, and maybe it's not as good for casuals to start going up the mountains, but you can get there. You can start doing
routes that are steady low grade.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you get tired, you could take your bike on the MRT. From your perspective, as people who are in the industry, are the rules on the MRT very friendly to cyclists?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely.
Totally fine.
It's a really convenient way if you have a flat, or you have some issue, or you want to meet up with your friends at a certain point, but you don't want to waste your energy to get there. You want to use your energy for the event itself. I think there's only like there's 5 or 6 like stations you can't take your bicycle on, and everything else is totally ready to go.
Yeah. So if you're taking your bicycle on the MRT, you're pretty much good across the board, except for a couple stations. Then those stations you have your bicycle in a bicycle bag, but it's just ride your bicycle to the next station where you can get on, and then you pay a little bit more to have the bicycle, and you go to like the very front or the very back, right? And then it's straightforward. And like where you live at Hongshuling, like it's like every Sunday and Saturday. It's just insane because all the cyclists just go north and just get off at that station, and then you have all this open room in front of you. Just do the North Coast or something like that. So MRT access for bicycles, fine. Train access for bicycles, also fine, because we have a lot of customers doing this. The best place to ride in Taiwan, for many people's opinion, is along the East Coast, like between Hualien and Taidong, the East Rift Valley right there. And you can do the Ocean Road if you want to too. So it's either road number 9 or road number 11. Those are like the main roads, but there's plenty of smaller roads you could do it as well. So maybe you get a bike in Taipei, or maybe you live in Taipei and then you want to go down and ride in one of these areas that's really iconic, beautiful, great weather and stuff like that. You can take the train. So just get your bike, go on, use the local train, and then you're good. You pay half of your fare for the bicycle. So it's totally
just super convenient. They make it super easy. If you get lost, just ask somebody. They're super helpful. Couldn't be easier to do.
There's clear markings and signs and everything like that. And again, this is one of the things that's only getting better. I think they're just putting more and more money into making this infrastructure more proper, which is awesome.
And where can people get more information about Taipei Bike Works?
Yeah.
They could look us up online at taipeibiketours.com. Instagram. They can look us up. We have Facebook as well.
Instagram, Facebook.
What's the Facebook page?
Facebook.com/Taipei Bike Tours.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Everything you need to know about cycling in Taipei and in Taiwan. Getting a custom-made bike, which sounds like a great idea for a lot of cyclists. Alec and Alex from Taipei Bike Works, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
You've been listening to Residence Messenger on Taipei Broadcasting Station. Have a good weekend.